Live, love Africa. What's your excuse for not coming? Please subscribe.
Hello, I'm Dynasty Mirror.
Careful with what you develop into. There's got to be another track waiting for you. So all of this re-Africanization, this Sankofa processing, where we acquire new names, where people change their diets, begin to work out, begin to feel good about themselves. Right. That's the liberation that we're seeking. That's the pre-liberation. If you don't go through those stages of self-evolution and development, then you're not going to be up to par to be able to play the role that we have a destiny to play in Africa. Yeah, so that's basically it, Dynasty, man. You know, the problem and the issue that I see, and I'm only one person, man, my opinion, I know my opinion don't matter out there.
It matters.
But I really think that we have to get realistic as Africans from the diaspora, particularly African Americans, and especially when we're talking about Sierra Leone, West Africa. Our ancestors, many of them were from here. Some believe that the most important slave fortress to the African American population in the United States of America is Bunch Island, only 20 miles away from Freetown. And that was settled in 1672 by the British. And in the height of the transatlantic slave trade, where there was more Africans going to the West than ever before in history and since, tens and thousands left from Bunch Island and went directly to Charleston, South Carolina, and became part of the original ancestors of the group that today we call Gullah Wars, right, which I am. Mm-hmm. So when we have that relationship, we know that there's a special group of people from here that went over and created this Creole rice culture in this particular region. Right. When you understand that, those people have lineages and they're going to identify with their ancestry. That's what it means to be Gullah Geechee. Right. When you still identify as your ancestors did. My ancestors made a distinction. I'm not an African American. Right. I'm Gullah, I'm Geechee. Right. When you trace back Gullah, you find Gullah right here in the South. Mm-hmm. The Gullah Forest, which technically would be a geographical region that you can identify all these groups with. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Gizi, which live east of the Gullah. The Gizi is Geechee. So when you understand that these were people from the same societies that was identifying based on what they had in common in Africa already, despite being enslaved on rice plantations in isolation where they might see a white person, a Bukra, 2 months a year. Right. Other than that, black overseer, African traditions, talk our own Creole, our own work pattern. We didn't need nobody whipping. We didn't need that shit. Right. Because the white man didn't know how to do what we knew how to do. He had to leave us to our own and let us do it. So for that reason, that isolation and that limited cultural freedom is why we still have things like Mende songs preserved in our traditions. Right. Ring shouts preserved in our traditions. You go other places in America and you'll find that the Africanisms is gone. Have been retained in like New Orleans. Right. New Orleans. And when you go to DC and you hear things like their music there, that what's that music? That house? Not house. What's that? Go-go? Yeah. Go-go. You hear that go-go music? When you really listen to it, that's Congo. You can hear it. You can hear the drums. We took all that culture into the HBCUs. You'll see it in the marching bands.
Right. So I was saying that. So like when I was at the, I love the masquerades. Yeah. And like whenever beating the drums and everything, like that's HBCU. That's football game. That's halftime show.
It's retention.
It's halftime show.
Now the same way you can do that. You come from America, and you come here and see the drum, and you see the similarity. Right. When they took our ancestors, they went to America, and they seen the similarity. They unified around that, and boosted it. So if they had something that was popular, that was popping at the time, a way of dress, or style hair, it may come from the Akan in Ghana, but it can become popular among Gullah Geechees. So Gullah Geechees was adopting the strongest traditions the strongest Africanisms and reinstitutionalizing them within our own community in America. That's a very powerful thing to do. And when you understand that these people who were coming from this part of Africa were coming from a place that's dominated by men and women societies, not just men's societies. When you understand agriculture and the process of planting rice, you realize that it's the women that plant the rice, it's not the man. The woman has the knowledge of the seed. The man has the knowledge of the ground. He know how to brush and do the husky work. But when it comes to planting that seed and working it to perfection, chances is the woman had more knowledge of it than the men. And even now today. Even now today. And so when you go to Bunce Island and you see the small section for the women and the children, then you see the big section for the men. Then you think about the Gullah Wars. Like how many people was coming to America between 1739 and the 1850s. How many of them came from Sierra Leone, like Singbe Pierre, where he was actually down in Cuba and did a mutiny on the ship during transport, being taken somewhere else. Why is it that everywhere we look in the United States, we find the legacy of Sierra Leone? Why? And it's the same way when we come back and we behave the way like a Geechee, they say, hey, they can see all of us in them. And we can see all of us in them. And that right there is powerful because they say we lost everything. But we still can be identified as Africans by the Africans who we influenced when our ancestors returned. So they took us away, but we came back. And we ended up back at the same time while they still were slave trading at Bunce Island 20 miles away. So that means that in the provinces, the people still was embarking on the slave trade. And the people who came back legitimately to be free and were formerly enslaved. So that caused a political situation because the European wanted to suppress the slave trade, but the natives have grown rich off of it. And then here we go in the middle, ready to accept the recaptives who were destined for the Middle Passage but got rescued and brought back. We welcomed them here and taught them our language that we developed in South Carolina. And now everybody talking Creole. My dad calls my mom a Creole because she's a Gullah Geechee and she used to go off on him and go into that Geechee shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I said, Daddy, man, you know my mama Geechee? Yep, y'all Creole. You don't understand? How you think you get Creole people here without a group that speaks Creole as a first language? Nobody in Sierra Leone spoke Creole as a first language. It was a trade language. It was those who came back with it already on their tongue, including the West Indians, people from Barbados, people from Jamaica. All of that mixed here and created this Creole language here. And because Sierra Leone, Freetown particularly, became the Athens of West Africa, the educational center, the Western cultural hub of West Africa, British West Africa, when you hear pidgins being talked in Nigeria, just remember that many of their first English speakers came here
to learn.
That pidgin, it comes from here. It's a relationship. Ghana is a relationship, but Salon is essential. So here they're saying Sierra Leone Creole is the real Creole. That's what people would say here. Salon Creole is the real Creole. The original Creole that was developed, that now West Africa has adopted because of the relationship between West Africa and the Creole people of Freetown, who pioneered Western commerce, Western education, and things like that as formerly enslaved. And we have to remember that even as Creole people, as liberated people, Freetown was a colony of Britain. They were not free. They were colonized. So if they took on the culture and the ways of the colonizer, you should understand that. Just like when it happened later on. You understand? So some people would say, man, y'all went over there acting like white folk. We went over there, they promised us freedom in America, brought us here and colonized us again. And forced us to build Christian institutions if we wanted to trade with them. Forced us to combat slavery. Forced us to. Put us on the lines, the frontier police. You understand? All these things is very, very important, but nothing happened without resistance here. Very early on, if you know about Thomas Peters, the man who they say is literally the founder of the whole ideal for the Nova Scotians to come back 1,200 deep. He went to Britain because he was dissatisfied with the conditions in Nova Scotia. He was a black loyalist.
Amanita Jallo in the movie The Book of Negroes played him.
Yeah, she played him. She actually played his role.
Yes,
Thomas Peters was a man. Thomas Peters was an Igbo. Thomas Peters was enslaved and sold into the slave trade, and he first ended up in New Orleans. When he got to Louisiana, he fled twice. Then they sold him to the Gullah corridor area. He ended up in Charleston, then he ended up in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
So when you understand that this is just one person, but imagine how many other people went that kind of route.
Right.
So when you go back to the American Revolution, and the British said, hey, if you're a slave, come on my side, take gun, fight, I'll give you freedom.
Right.
Many people responded to that. And those who responded to that end up becoming black loyalists.
Right.
Thomas Peters is one of them. When they went to Nova Scotia, man, the people had poor land. They was already doing their white supremacist racist shit on us. They was already segregating us. And they heard about a mission that had sent 400 poor blacks from London down to a place in Africa that was beautiful.
Right.
But that their colony had been destroyed by the natives. And it happened. King Jimmy destroyed the first colony of the first settlement of the African Americans. And then the Nova Scotia group came behind and settled Freetown permanently after that. So they was like reinforcements.
So they didn't go to London, then to Freetown. They went from Nova
There
Scotia.
was two groups.
Okay.
One, when the Americans evacuated, when the British evacuated America after the Revolutionary War,
Right.
they took a lot of their British slave property back to London, and then a lot of them were turned free, and they were poor in London. But in London, they had a law, a traditional customary law that if you're poor, if you're a pauper, you can only go to your own clan, to your own group for support. There was no welfare system. You go to your people. And they said, well, these black people ain't got nobody to go to, and we shouldn't be taking care of them. So the abolitionist people, the white left of those days, they wanted to venture and create colonies for commerce and Christianity, Western civilization in Africa. They wanted to strengthen their position. And to do that, they had to, one, fight against the slave trade. Two, they had to establish colonies of black people that they can control, that would be loyal to them.
Right.
Because maybe they freed them. You understand that?
Let me ask you, why isn't this, so when it comes to Liberia and Sierra Leone, why isn't this part of history taught in black American history? Like it's completely avoided.
It's deliberate. It's deliberate. I mean, we know more today about Kemet than we know about Liberia.
Right.
We know more today about societies that our most direct ancestors probably never stepped foot in.
Right.
Than we know about the societies that they definitely came from. If you're a Mende, then you have Malian ancestry.
Right.
Your ancestors were Malinke.
Right.
If you're a Mende, they speak the Manding language. That was the language of the Mali Empire. Same goes for Karenkos. Same goes for Kanols. Same goes for Mandingos. Many, many groups spoke the same language of the Mali Empire. And so many of our ancestors went over there speaking the same language.
Right.
They could talk enough in their language because they was part of a imperial language family, the Manding language family. And so that's very, very important to understand too, bro. These people here, these white people, when they come here, they come smiling, they come with gifts. And these Chinese and white people, man, they move with money. They move with money, man. When they come here, they don't use the brother family card.
Right.
And try to get the people to help them for free or for cheap.
Right.
They come with it. They hire 50, boom. Build a big ass hotel for themselves. They don't play. That's why they're able to succeed. It's not because of the stupidity of the Africans. It's because of the business savviness of the opposition.
Right.
The ops are literally out hustling us. They don't partner with the Africans. We should, and compete against them together.
Yeah, but we have the $1 trillion spending power that we just want to keep in America.
Well, they say $1 trillion spending power, but in what practical way can we prove, one, that that's true? Two, how can we divert those resources to Africa? Think about it.
It's just trying to convince our people to divert the resources is the problem.
And you know why? Because we want to return. You see, in America, this generation, we've been completely absorbed into America culture and economic system. Our ancestors were locked out of their economic system.
Right.
And society itself was segregated. But after integration, we ended up becoming not only integrated, but assimilated.
Right.
We've become more Europeanized than any generation prior to us. We've become more Americanized than our parents and our grandparents. That's why we think they was crazy, but we think we got it going on.
As an elder once told me, we're more Anglo than African.
Absolutely. In our social, cultural makeup right now. And we got to dig it, because when we coming back to Africa, man, people looking at you strange.
Right.
You looking like a white man. You behaving like a white man. You charming every day like a white man. We're watching you. You're an American. American don't mean white man to the world outside. They know it's a multiracial society.
Right.
But there's certain characteristics and cultural expectations that we have that's general, because we've been absorbed into their culture. And when you absorb into a colonizer's culture, you pick up their values.
Right.
And if them values are destructive to you, then they're going to be most extremely materialized in your own community.
As we see today.
As we see today. So one of the aspects is the capitalist concept of competition, free market. The Europeans are only moving like this because they impose free market on Africa. If they can sit in London and use their capital there to design a business and pull resources constantly from a place in Africa that you can't, that's the new colonialism. And so we need to understand the difference between money, spending power, and capital.
Right.
Because capital would include our human resources, not just our finances. This is what other people do. They data bank their skill sets for their nation. And they create plans and they budget accordingly and make sure everybody is compensated for what they do within the nation building.
Right.
We have failed to do that. Nationalism in the United States of America among African American people is at an all-time low.
Right.
The cosmetic African consciousness is at an all-time high. So it looked like we're actually re-Africanizing.
Right.
But we're actually playing dress up.
Oh, wow.
Because when you come back and the first thing you say is, man, I want to go back to America. They don't got good snacks here. I'm telling you, when you come back, and you meet a homeless person in Africa that might live on the beach and he's hungry or he stink or something like that, you can't freak out like we ain't got homeless people in America.
Right.
And so it's like this. You can walk past all of the suffering and strain and struggle that our people go through in America, come to Africa, and become critical of it.
I tell people I've seen the worst poverty on Skid Row in America than I've ever
anywhere else.
But still, it's one out. It's just for us over there.
We don't care. That's what I'm telling you about us.
In fact, I give you another one. Tyler Perry had a turkey giveaway. I live in Atlanta, in the West End. Tyler Perry, his studios is like 3 miles from my house. He had a turkey giveaway. They said that line for free turkeys was 3 miles long.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, either A, you just want to say you got a turkey from Tyler Perry,
or you need it.
Or you need it.
Yeah, you need it.
And so I'm like,
imagine. We don't got that here, man.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Rice and plazas.
Yeah,
we good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just like 3 miles long for a free turkey. Like either you just want, hopefully Tyler Perry's gonna give you the turkey, take a picture with him, or you really need that turkey.
I think we're in for a rude awakening. That's what I think, brother. And man, I can keep talking, but I know that there's some things that Kenya have to say.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because Kenya has been here 5 years on December 2nd. December 3rd. It'll make 5 years she's been here. Kenya's been volunteering here. She's done a lot of work. Most of what you see us doing, she is the brain behind the operations. And often, people are repatriating, but they're not repatriating as couples.
Right.
They're not repatriating as families.
You're right.
Usually somebody in the love relationship don't want to go. And I was fortunate that I met Kenya shortly before I came. And I was on my way.
Right.
And she was like, "What, you going to Africa?" She said, "Yo, okay, let's see."
Yeah, because everybody, I was in the conscious community. So we dealt with a whole lot of the conscious celebrities, and you always hear people talking about they're going to go to Africa and do this in Africa. and I've been around for years. I mean, I ain't seen it yet.
Right.
I come across this brother. He just got through touring the Sierra Leone politician from one side of America to the other. So we ended up interviewing him.
Right.
So this is how I came into contact with him. And upon meeting him, he telling us about Sierra Leone and different things here. And then he says, I'm going to be repatriating soon. Okay. Yes. Okay, we'll see.
Right.
You know, and everybody felt the same way. He didn't know that after he came, everybody thought he was playing.
Yeah.
But he's never played. He's one of the most serious Africans to the struggles who are people that I've ever come across. And I've come across a lot of people in my lifetime. So, yeah, he came.
So let me ask you a question.
All right, go ahead. I got a question for you, but go ahead. And you too.
So,
Go ahead.
I got a question for King.
What's
Go ahead.
that?
On behalf of the women out there, can you tell us how the experience of planning and coming was for you? And when you came, how was your transition? What made it difficult? What made it smooth?
I was planning. You came in 2013. I was supposed to be here in 2014. I had been planning it. I've been saving, was collecting stuff, was packing it to go. And upon me leaving, Ebola happened.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of stalled my repatriation for almost a year and a half. So, but before then, we actually had the signing. So we were doing a lot of organizing. We were doing a lot of activism. You know, just reaching out, telling people about what was happening here, trying to gain the support that we needed to actually make a better impact, try to save some lives here.
Right.
So that part was difficult, I'll just tell you, but being able to be prepared through him, being able to understand things as he was experiencing them as a quote-unquote American going to Africa was giving me an inside scoop. And I'll just tell you this, everything that he ever told me couldn't have prepared me for what I came to and had to experience on my own. You know, just being able to experience life here was just a whole totally different experience. And he used to say that, I can only tell you so much, you got to come here.
Right.
He always said that you have to come here. And the transition was just, it was a well thought out one. I prepared my family. My family thought I was playing.
Of course.
My colleagues, people with that, comrades that I worked with in the organization, they thought I was playing around. And, you know, I came. And when I came here, it was rough. You know, of course, the place was beautiful. The people were inviting because he had already built a whole base for me by the time I came.
Right.
I had family here. I had people that we worked with in the organization. I knew them by name. I knew them by face. We worked with them, did business with them. So I came into that. But the adjustment part, the culture shock part was something that I just was like, oh my God, I'm from Chicago. You know, I'm Gullah Geechee, but I'm from Chicago. I didn't grow up in the Gullah culture. I don't know the language. So I couldn't understand anything when I came here. They sound like they were talking Spanish. You know, so I'm like, what? I don't understand nothing. It was some few words that I learned before I came here, like sabi and this little stuff like that. I can catch it. But just the general thing, it was eye opening. It was mixed as far as the emotional part on adapting culturally. And I'll just tell you this, and I thought about it after I was here about 4 or 5 months, and I was like, wow, I'm just experiencing so much. If I only would have came for a week or two or a month and left, ain't no way I would have been able to experience the things that I was experiencing. I had only been there about 6 months at that time.
Right.
It was blowing my mind. And just the different stages of understanding the culture, the people, seeing the similarities, seeing people that look like people I went to high school with.
Right.
I was
Everybody
tripping.
has a twin. You know?
Oh my
In
God.
Salone.
Everybody.
In Salone.
Oh my
I'm gonna
God.
tell you where. You say Salone. Have you been to Togo?
I have not been.
I've seen more twins in Togo
Wow.
than anywhere. Like
Okay.
everybody has a twin in Togo.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So just being able to just experience that as a repatriate just early on, it was just mind-blowing to me. And it was an adjustment. You know, and I've been here now for 5 years. But I'll just tell you, there's so many things that you have to consider. When certain things you will take for granted for repatriate, bring what you need. Don't bring what you think you're going to need. You know what I'm saying?
So don't fill the container up and bring everything.
Don't bring everything. That would be silly because a lot of things you can bring here. You know what I mean? You can buy here on the market.
Right.
Way nicer, way sturdier,
Cheaper.
way cheaper. You can buy
Right.
things that's made literally from oak or timber.
Right.
That's made on the market that will last
Handmade.
for 500 years, and then some you could get from IKEA.
Ain't
You know what I'm
ain't
saying?
nobody important to
As
what
far-
IKEA plant.
Yeah, you know, so
Yeah,
what
they
I
do
mean,
that.
like the little appliances, the little gadgets. Okay, yeah, bring that type of stuff. But when you talking about your bed and nice towels and bed sheets and those, bring that type of stuff. If I would have had the understanding of what I knew, I would have moved a little different and prioritized things a little different as a repatriate now. But just being able to see those things coming in, you can't see them until you're here.
Right.
You really can't. You'll be doing yourself a disservice to assume because you came here for 2 weeks, you just an expert of Africa. That is just immature. You know what I'm saying? And you're doing it because by the time, and then you can't be so culture shock that you can't move forward, or it's just something. And I'll just tell you, if I ran to social media about little things that was driving me crazy,
Right.
I would feel embarrassed by now because I have a different understanding of those things and different customs now than I did then. I couldn't have even understood them on the level I do now. So, and I said this before, come here humble.
Right. But that's crazy. Like when first time I came to Africa, last thing in my mind was chips.
Yeah. Hey, bro,
That's the first thing in my mind was chips.
Right? Well, look,
Oh
when
my God.
I wanted some good food.
Hey, look, when I got,
Right,
that's
some
how I was.
organic.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Hey, look, when I got
Some
here,
of the best
man.
food you ever get.
When I got here, man, I came with a brother who was a Pan-African, and most of the people who was around him had that ideal, like, it didn't matter, we was Africans.
Yeah.
They had a Pan-African ideal. And I wanted to try everything, man. I wanted to try the pollo, the palm wine.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to try everything. And I ate the foods, I learned what I didn't like, what I did like. I know that groundnut soup,
I love groundnuts.
now is one of my favorite
Love
plazas.
it.
If before I came here, I would have never known that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I love groundnuts.
I love jollof rice,
Oh, of course, yeah.
cassava and rice. When it's made a certain way, and they put the milk inside, the cow butter. It's better.
Yeah.
So once you live here, you actually learn to develop a taste for the indigenous foods, and it's not on like, oh well, let's go out tonight to an African restaurant.
Right. Right.
It's like you
Right.
actually
Go
buy
to
the
the
things
market.
yourself and cook your own.
Yes.
You can cook all these dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
And my
She didn't
favorite
try
dish, his dishes is different than mine. My favorite dish is crane.
I love crane. I love
I love okra, fufu, and tola. Those are my favorite dishes, and the black eyed peas or the black eyed beans. The beans here.
Yeah, they're
Those
great.
are my
They're
favorite dishes.
Right.
And I know the national dish here is cassava leaf, but it's one of my
cassava.
least. It's one of my least favorite.
You don't like cassava?
I think the reason being is because I didn't have it much, and the first time I started eating it is when I developed malaria.
Okay.
And so that kind of messes your taste up. I didn't know what malaria felt like. I was here 18 months before.
How did it feel like?
Oh my God! It felt like it was just your body just was doing some weird things. Like you were feeling a little spacey. Your taste was, your taste was leaving. Your taste goes away.
Yeah. I've had malaria over 17 times.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Let's get your lights.
Yeah.
So
I ain't had it yet.
So the malaria, how I felt, I didn't know what was happening to me. I was just, oh, this is nasty. Who made this? This is gross. But I didn't know that it was the malaria. So when I was eating the cassava, it just didn't taste right. And so after that, I only had it a few times that was like, oh, this is good, but I don't have a taste for it. It's not something I would
The
say.
first experience threw you off.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of my least favorite. But the fever, the nausea, the tiredness, your head space. I mean, you just feel spacey.
You be worried.
Yeah.
Like when you have malaria, it's
You're
like
on edge.
it makes you worried.
Yeah. You be
The
on
psychological
edge.
effect. I've had malaria here where I went and got treated, but I didn't get fully treated. And I didn't know.
Right.
I paid for the full treatment, felt better, thought I was good, but it missed. And so I had lingering malaria, what they call malaria positive. You know what I mean? When I came here, You see me size? I'm small, about 210 right now.
Yeah.
When I came out, I was 255.
Oh wow. Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
I let all that shit go because the way I started feeling weak from the malaria laying on me. But there is a way to combat it. The malaria, they have medicine here, bitter medicine. Bingba.
Yeah, Bagba.
Yeah, they have medicines here that
Lime.
you just take care of yourself. It's
Yeah.
all about taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe once a week you might take 2 cups of Bimba. So if you have any malaria
Or once a
parasites
month, do
in
one
your body,
treatment, one
it'll
treatment.
start frustrating you. So if you drink Bimba and it makes you feel bad, then you know that the Bimba is fighting the malaria.